Hello everyone, welcome to my channel. How you guys all doing today? My name is Joy and I'm a Nigerian immigrant living in Alberta, Canada. If you are new here, welcome, and if you're a returning subscriber, thank you so much for coming back. So from the title of this video, I'm sure you already know what we want to talk about. Yes, I passed my road test. You I passed my Alberta driving test at the first trial, and I'm so grateful to God for that. And I'm glad that I had a great instructor and a great examiner as well. So I'm just going to be sharing my story, how I went about it, how to get a driver's license in Canada. It may differ for different provinces, but it's generally around the same type of process to get a driver's license in Canada. Just before we dive into it, please do not forget to like this video, share this video with your friends, comment what you think about this video. If you have done your driver's test or what you learned about what I'm going to say in this video, put that in the comment section. And of course, do not forget to hit the red subscribe button and turn on the post notification bell beside it so that you can be aware when I post my next video. So to get your driver's license in Canada, you have to do a knowledge test and a road test, and I did both of them to be able to get mine. I currently live in Edmonton, Alberta. So the process may differ if you're in another province, but if you're in Alberta, it's basically going to be around exactly what I'm going to be saying in this video. Or if you intend to move to Alberta anytime soon, then this video is definitely going to be very helpful to you. Even if you're moving to another province, you should share this video because it will be helpful to anyone who is new to Canada. So first of all, there are various types of licenses that you can get in Canada. There's the class 1, class 4, class 5, class 6, and class 7. So there are different licenses, but I'm just basically going to be talking about the class 5 and the class 7 licenses in this video. Okay, so to get a license in Canada, first of all, you have to do the knowledge test. It's actually a computer-based test. It consists of 30 questions and you must get 25 answers correctly for you to be able to pass that class 7 test. Yes, so you will do it. You have 30 questions and you only have the opportunity to fill 5 questions. Now the test will end automatically after either of these two things happen. Either after you pass 25 questions or after you fill 6 questions. So if you pass 25 questions, even if you haven't gotten to the 30th question, remember that I said there are 30 questions. Even if you have not gotten to the 30th question, the test will automatically end because you have already passed. I mean, you have gotten 25. You can move on and get your class 7 license. The second scenario in which the test will end is if you fail 6 questions. So if you fail 5 questions, you still have the opportunity to keep going on and on and on till you get to the 30th question. But if you fail 6 questions, the test also ends there. You're automatically logged out. That's going to be the very end of that test. That's also happened to me the first time. I did not pass my knowledge test the first time and I had to retake it a second time. So I did my knowledge test twice. Anyway, na test I no pass. I no do anything to anybody. I just need to pass the test, right? So do not feel ashamed or feel bad if you have had to take your knowledge test more than once or your road test more than once, because yeah, some of us did not pass it the first time. We had to retake. So I did my knowledge test on a Tuesday afternoon. And then I was like, I've never seen anything that has to do with these questions before. First of all, the knowledge test is basically just testing you to see if you know the road rules, right? To see if you know the road rules and the road signs and stuff like that. So you would need to get the guide, Alberta guide for cars and trucks. There is a PDF file for that, which you can download online, and you have to read it. And when I mean read it, you read it from cover to cover. When I mean from cover to cover, I mean the entire thing. Don't skip anything. There, if one page is divided into 2, read both sections. Read it from cover to cover many times. And don't just read it just to cram it and pour in the test, but read it to actually know it, because guess what? It's going to actually help you when you start driving. Yeah, because it cannot be that you don't know some science. Like, hello, how did you not pass your knowledge test? So you definitely need to know some science for you to be able to actually drive properly in Canada. Yeah. So don't just read it for the purpose of the test. Read it to actually know it. Don't let it be low read, low cram, low pour, low pass. I how did they say that thing? Low cram, la cram, la pour, la pass. Just my lecturer in university that mentioned that thing, and till today I still find it very funny. I can't remember if it was my lecturer in my university or my teacher in my secondary school, one of the two. But they said la cram, la pour, la pass. He was describing students, what students do to exam. Anyway, so you should read it so you can actually know it. When you do the knowledge test and you pass it, you get a class 7 license, which is like a learner's permit. It's like what you call a learner's permit back in Nigeria or back in Africa. So with that, you are able to drive, but you can't drive alone. You can't drive unaided, right? You have to drive with a fully licensed driver sitting beside you. That fully licensed driver can be anyone who has a full class 5, right? So I would still talk about what it means, or what all this class 5 means. So with that learner's license, you're able to drive, but there are some restrictions on it. You have 8 demerit points, 0 alcohol level. You cannot drive between midnight and 5 a.m. Some sort of restrictions, but yeah, you can still drive, right? So I did it that Tuesday afternoon. I didn't pass, and I'm like, what went wrong? So I went back and I went through that book again, all over again. I read it from cover to cover, kept on reading it, kept on reading it, kept on reading it. And finally, the Lord has done it finally. Finally, I went to go and take the test the next day and I passed. Woo! So that's for the written test, that's for the class 7. So I had the learner's license, which was this was around August. This was in the second week of August. And yeah, I was very happy and I enrolled for a driving school. So now driving in Canada is nothing related to driving in Nigeria. Like, even if you know how to drive in Nigeria, yes, when you come to Canada, it will look like you have never driven before. And you'll be like, Nibo, what's this? So driving in Canada is like totally different from driving in Nigeria. There was one post I saw of, oh, in Nigeria, if you don't know how to drive, just stay on the service lane until you are now very good. In Canada, you can't do such, because the people on the right lane are turning. So it's your business if you just started driving today. The people on the right lane are turning, so you can't be on the right lane if you are not turning. If you're on the right lane, then that means you're trying to turn, so you don't go ahead and confuse other people. And besides, the road may end at some point and you still need to enter the left lane. You have to be on the correct lane when you are driving in Canada. There's nothing like service lane, maybe unless your vehicle breaks down and you need to sort it out, right? And then that's when you put on your hazard lights, not double trafficator. Yes, I know in Nigeria they call it double trafficator. Hazard lights or emergency parking lights. Yeah, there was a lot to learn. Like, so many terminologies that were different. I'm gonna go into that, but yeah, I'll tell you my first experience driving. Like, it was very funny. I mean, driving in Canada, I drove with my instructor, and then I was like, wow, is it that I've never driven before? Because I was driving in Nigeria, not just Nigeria, but Lagos. You know Lagos now, with Danfo Boss, Agbero, all of them. And here I am in Canada, and it looks like I've never driven in my life. But I knew how to move the car, I knew how to change lanes. And then in this country, in Nigeria, when you're still learning how to drive, you can maintain any speed you want. You can be as slow as a snail, and it won't matter. People will just avoid you. Probably even have the learner sign. But here, it is your business. If you are a learner, you have to drive at the speed limit for that road, because other vehicles are also driving at that speed limit. So you will be obstructing traffic if you are driving too slow. And if you are driving too fast, get ready for tickets. Yeah. So now let us go into the meat of this whole thing. So I got my driving instructor the first day of doing driving. I started moving, and my instructor was like, too much brake, too much brake. One thing I would advise you is that if you're coming from Nigeria, right, try to get your driver's license as soon as possible so that you don't go and forget how to drive. I hadn't driven for like 7 months. The last time I drove was in January this year. Don't stay too long when you come to Canada without driving. So you will not forget. Like, so it looked like I had kind of forgotten. It's been like 7 months. I last drove in January, and then I was trying to drive again in August. I was used to using Uber and bus and everything, or having someone else drive me around. Now, let me just you something. When you have a driving instructor, you see those cars that they use, really nice cars, though, very posh cars, you know. But guess what? You have your driving instruments in front of you, you have your steering, your brake, your accelerator, stuff like that. As you have yours, the instructor also has his on the passenger side. Yeah, yeah, especially the brake. I think the only thing they don't have there is the wheel. So once in a while they have to grab wheel from you and move it. They have their brake there so that anytime you decide to do something funny or make a funny move, they will just press on their brake. You just realize that the car is no longer moving, and then you are wondering, it took me some time to get used to it. Like, you just realize that the car is no longer moving. They just press on brake. And I'm like, Kilo day. Did you not see? That car is coming. You wait for the car to move like this. I say, so. Omo. Left turn, right turn, signal, yield, this one. So many things which I'm going to gist you about. I started practicing for my driving test when I found out that I was eligible to have a full class 5 license. So let me explain something. When you do your class 7, if you don't have a foreign license from your country that shows that you've been driving for at least 2 years and still has some validity on it, then you would not be eligible for a class 5 test immediately, like a class 5 road test immediately. You have to wait for 1 year. So as you're coming into the country, if you know that you don't have your Nigerian license or your license from your home country, my brother and my sister, do your class 7 immediately, because you will need to wait 1 year. And then having a car in Canada is not a luxury. No, you know, in Nigeria, if you don't have car, once you're able to find your way to your bus stop, it's not a problem. If there is hold up will hold both people in the bus and in the car. The difference between having a car back in Nigeria and here is a lot, right? So in Nigeria, especially when the roads are free, the only difference between you and the person that had the car is that they will not spend time between their house and the bus stop, which you will spend, right? Here is a totally different thing. It is a totally different thing. So if you have a car, a journey can take you 9 minutes or 10 minutes. But if you don't have a car and you're going by bus, it's maybe 1 hour, 12 minutes. I'm not even kidding. So that was one of my motivations to at least let me hustle this driver's license first, and then we see where it goes from there. So if you know that you don't have your African driver's license from your home country, your Nigerian driver's license, just know that after you do your class 7 test, you need to wait 1 year. So as soon as you come, it's good for you to do your class 7 test so that your 1 year can start counting. Otherwise, you will wait and wait and wait until you can wait no more. And it's not easy to just be taking bus and taking Uber in this country, especially during winter. Because you won't be able to stay on that snow waiting for bus for 30 minutes. If it's inside maybe like a train station, yeah, you can stand there trying to run after a bus in the snow, or wait for bus in the snow. Cold will freeze you. Like, the snow will enter your body, the cold will enter your body, not the snow, but the cold will enter your body. And then even walking to the bus stop, it will be very easy for you to miss buses during winter, because during summer and even during fall, yes, on Tuesday I still ran to the bus stop, because we're in fall, we're in autumn, there's no snow on the road, there's no ice, so I was able to run kitty kitty kata kata. Even at that, the bus went like 3 to 4 minutes earlier, so I still missed it, right? So imagine if you are trying to run in winter. You cannot run in winter. If it takes you 10 minutes to get to a bus stop normally during summer or during fall, it will take you like 20 or 25 minutes to get to the bus stop during winter, because there's snow on the road. You don't want to turn into banana or pawpaw that will be falling at the slightest opportunity. You fall here, you fall there. You fall here, you fall there. So, especially when there's ice on the floor. You know, if it's just snow, you can see the snow now. The ice is clear, so you won't know there's anything there. But ice is so slippery. Anyway, that let's leave winter first. Let's talk about this driving. I was saying that having a car in Canada is not a luxury, it's a necessity, so that you don't always have to sleep on the road. Like the amount you would even spend on Uber and Lyft when you don't have a car, if you save that money, can use it and buy car. I'm not kidding. Can use it and buy car. And then one good thing about this country is that you don't have to pay your for your car cash down like in Nigeria. A lot of things run on the credit system here, though it's not like you should not go and build up your credits ridiculously, right? But a lot of things run on the credit system here where you can pay monthly for maybe like a couple of years and stuff like that. It's just the way we have mortgages for houses where you can pay monthly for your house for a couple of years or for many years. For the car it will just be a couple of years, but for house it's decades. It's not like Nigeria where you have to buy cash down. Here, if you don't have the money, you can just be paying monthly a certain amount and until you finish paying, just that you will pay it for some years. Yeah, but then if you have cash down, that's also good because you don't have to buy the most expensive car anyway. But this video is not to talk about cars. No. This video is to talk about my driving experience. If you're coming to the country, you should try to, and you want to get a driver's license anytime soon, you can start by applying for the knowledge test, which is the class 7 license, so that if you need to wait for a year, your 1 year anniversary starts counting from the day you did the test, right? And you passed, not just the day you did the test. And then mind you, one payment for test does not cover every other payment if you fail that test, right? You have to keep paying for the test until you pass. And then after you pass, you still pay for the driver's license. The same thing with the class 5. You keep paying for the class 5 road test until you pass, and when you finally pass, you still pay for the driver's license. So basically, after my class 7 test, I submitted my Nigerian driver's license. Yeah, so you have to submit your foreign driver's license. I submitted my Nigerian driver's license to the registry so that they could verify if I was eligible to take the class 5 test. I had been driving in Nigeria as well, and I had a valid license. I think that was even my second driver's license. So I submitted that year. It already had 2 years on that, so I didn't need to submit an extra one that was expired or anything. I think it had more than 6 months validity even after the date I was submitting, which was in August. I think it was supposed to have maybe 6 months or 1 year validity after the day that you are submitting. I submitted that, and I also submitted my driver's abstract. As it were, they actually told me they didn't really need it, but well, I had already done the abstract and I didn't see anything else I was going to use it for. So whether they were going to need it or not, I didn't really care. I was like, you know what, I just want to submit it. So I submitted it. It was the e-copy I had, and I submitted it to the registry's email, and they told me that they'll let me know if I qualify for the class 5 road test, and that I could also give them a call just to confirm. So a week after I did the test, I gave them a call and they said I qualified. Just to make sure that I was really, really sure, before I booked my class 5 road test, I called that same registry again that I did my class 7 test. So do I qualify for class 5? And they said I qualified. Then I was now confident enough to book the class 5 test, just in case we cannot start telling stories that such. So I did my sessions with my instructor. So I actually had two instructors, my main instructor and one other instructor I used before my main instructor. So the first one that I said, what that was saying, too much break. That was the very first instructor I used. That was before I actually started driving with my main instructor. Most of the sessions would usually be 2 hours. Most driving instructors do not agree to do 1 hour because before you even start, it's over. Right, so most of them say it's 2 hours or nothing. So yeah, I did those 2 hours, and first of all, he spent the first 30 minutes telling me about the driving rules and the driving signs, right? So because they would usually ask you, have you ever driven before? And then I would have to say in my home country but not in Canada. So before they even give you car to even hold, they have to know whether you even know how to even press throttle, you know how to press brake. And I had to ask both instructors, I hope it's automatic transmission, So you know what we call automatic cars back in Nigeria and manual cars. Here too, there are also manual cars. So I had to ask, I hope it's automatic transmission. They call it automatic transmission, manual transmission. Otherwise, I ain't know how to drive manual cars. They mostly use automatic cars here, so that wasn't an issue. I did my driving, and that first driving session was hot. Like, I was like, I know how to drive before. What's going on here? But you know, you get used to it after some time, right? You must be on the speed limit. Like, if the speed limit is 60, you can't be doing 50, right? You have to be doing 57, 58, right? And you shouldn't be going above the speed limit. So it's not easy. It's not easy. Like, when you are supposed to be on 60, they'll say yes. Why are you on 54? So you have to always speed up and catch up with the speed limit. Like, it wasn't easy, but this speed limit is not easy. You know, in Nigeria, if you don't know how to really drive, or you're trying to get used to the whole driving process, you can be driving at even 20. It won't really matter, right? People just need to see maybe your learner's sign or whatever, and they would excuse you, you know. So, but here, yeah, there's probably a sign on top of the car. There's usually a sign on top of the car that says it's a driving school. So it's not like people will not still know that you are trying to learn. You are literally still learning, you know. You are just not learning how to drive. You're learning Canada's way of driving, not the basics of driving, but Canada's way of driving, which is totally different from Nigeria's mode of driving, I can assure you. So I did the first lesson with the first instructor, and then I started my full driving course with my main instructor. So what I did was I registered with a driving school, and I got an instructor. It's a 2 weeks wait time from the time you sign up for the course for the driving school till you actually start driving. And so there is a theoretical aspect which I wanted as well. So that theoretical aspect, you can either do it in class, it's 15 hours in class, or 15 hours online. That's the theoretical aspect. If you're doing it in class, it's like $50 cheaper than if you're doing it online. But if you're doing it online, you can just do it at your own time. It's self-paced, but you have like 3 months to complete it, right? I think I completed mine under 1 month or 3 weeks, thereabout. Even as like busy as my schedule became, I was still able to complete it in 3 weeks. 3 weeks to 1 month. That's one thing about Nigeria. Nigeria made us to be up and doing for us to be able to complete things very fast. My instructor was surprised that I had completed the online course so fast, and he looked kind of surprised, like, so fast. I just had to do it because you can do it. It can be self-paced, so you can just do one module today, 3 modules tomorrow, and then, you know, other than having to go like 2 Saturdays, you do 8 hours today, 8 hours next week. I need to be able to rewind, you know, other than if you're in a classroom setting. So this package is usually 15 hours in class and 10 hours on the road. They also have other packages, 15 hours in class and 15 hours on the road, or 20 hours on the road. I was like, you know what, I'll go for the cheapest one, which was 15 hours in class and 10 hours on the road. I didn't want the theory class to be offline, so I had to sign up for the online one, and that was it. So I started my 10 hours on the road. It was 5 sessions of 2 hours per session. I did 3 sessions with my instructor, and I booked my road test. My road test was like a month from the time I was booking it, because you won't just see dates like that though. Like, especially if you don't have your own vehicle to use. So I couldn't just book just any date or any time. I had to confirm with my instructor because I had to rent his car. I didn't have any other car I was going to use. It is usually advisable that for your road test, you use the car that you have been using to practice, right? So that you're getting used to it. Yes, fine, you can rent from the registry if they do rent cars or vehicles, but you may not really be used to the type of vehicle that it is, and you need some time to get used to it. So you may be doing some off things. Some things may be off if you are trying to rent a car that you have not been using. And for a driving test, not as if you're just driving randomly, you should use your instructor's car if you have one, or if you stay with family and friends and you've been using that car to drive around, you can just use theirs for your test. So I needed to pick a date and a time that worked for my instructor because I was renting his car, right? So it was like 1 month ahead. So my instructor was like, we can't be having all our sessions now. Because in my mind, I was like, maybe if we exhaust the sessions, I will need to get maybe another 1 or 2 sessions. But he was very, very professional about that, very, very patient. And he was like, okay, so we'll do it closer to your test. We'll do your session, your last session, the day before your test. At that point in time, I was like, huh? But later I was like, okay, that actually makes sense. So that your brain is fresh. The driving is fresh. So eventually I didn't do any other sessions till October. This was around maybe like by the time where I was booking the test, this was like September. So I didn't do any other practice till like beginning of October because my test was 1 week of October. 7th of October was when I did my test, which was like 3 days ago. I couldn't film anything in between because I was so anxious. And then let me just let you know ahead of time, you would be anxious before the test. Like at some point I was like, sure, I should not even just reschedule this thing. But if you are going to reschedule, you pay a rescheduling fee and you can't reschedule it past a certain time. So I was like, okay, well, let me at least just go and try it out and see how this test goes, right? I went ahead and booked my test. So we did practice, my fourth practice that first week of October, and the last practice the day before my test. Now, one good thing about these instructors is that most times they can come and pick you from your house and drop you off. Like if that's your arrangement, right? It's easier than you trying to find a way to the driving school when you don't have a car. So or for all my 5 sessions, in fact, for all my 6 sessions with both instructors, they picked me up and dropped me back home, right? So that part was really nice. Even on the day of my test, my instructor came to pick me up from the house and we went to the test center, right? We went to the registry. You know, here, registry is not just for courts. Registry is for you register for your driver's license there, your car papers, you do your knowledge test. So many things go on there. There's even baby registry. You know, in Nigeria, it was just when you hear registry, you think it's court wedding, but here it's totally different. We went to the registry where I was to do my test. And yeah, I did the test. And I passed! Guys! Like, I was so amazed that I passed, but I'm so happy that I passed. I'm so grateful to God that I passed because, yo, I was almost sweating under AC. My instructor's car has AC, but I was almost sweating. Not like my examiner was harsh or anything, no. But I was almost sweating, like just the tension alone. Like even when we were on the way to the registry for the test, my instructor was like, okay, try to parallel park, try to do parking on a curb, try to hill on a curb, downhill on a curb, and stuff like that. I was kind of anxious. And then we went for the test. I think test was to be by like 1 p.m. And then went for the test and yeah, I passed. So when I said 1 p.m., like someone was like, that would be break time. People will be outside, you know, going for lunch, maybe kind of busy, but it wasn't really busy. And this was a Monday afternoon. It wasn't really busy, like the road was relatively free. It's better than doing it at rush hour. Most times people recommend that you do your test in the morning around like between 9 a.m. and 11 a.m. when rush hour is over. People have gone to work, people have gone to school, but the best time that was applicable to me was 1 p.m. So I booked it for that and the road was free. Did I even see any pedestrian even trying to cross? Pedestrians were by the road. So in as much as I'm looking like there was no, yes, of course you yield to pedestrian if needed, but yeah, that wasn't even the case. And then it lasted about 40 minutes. 40, yeah, let me just say 40 minutes or 30 something minutes, almost 40 minutes, because we left the registry around like 1:05 thereabout and we're back before 1:45. So it's usually a 45 minutes test. Some people have theirs less than 30 something minutes, 20 minutes, depends on the examiner, you know. So I went there and we started the test and then we drove around, and then anytime he's marking something, I'm like, hey God, because for you to be able to pass the class 5 test, you have to accumulate less than 75 points. If you accumulate up to 75 points, then you fail the test automatically. And there are also some other things that you can do to fail the test automatically. Like if you don't yield to a pedestrian who wants to cross, like someone wants to cross and you don't allow them cross, you are just speeding through, automatic fail. Because here pedestrians have the right of way, unlike in Nigeria or Africa where vehicles had the right of way and pedestrians should be the one doing pass. So yeah, you have to do all of that to, you know. And then if you climb over a curb, That's an automatic fail. If you bash a car, like if you hit a car, let me say hit a car, but for my Nigerian friends, bash a car, automatic fail. Of course, if you hit somebody, you have gotten F9 parallel, come back another day and look for how you will repair your instructor's car. God forbid, though. So there are so many things that can make you automatically fail, while there are some things that you will just lose points for. You just start accumulating points for, like they will show you what you were doing that made you accumulate those number of points. So the test did not go badly. Actually, it was a bit tough, but yeah, I was able to make it. It's doable, right? I was like, which kind of long test is this one? Why is 45 minutes so long? So they said, oh, park here and so we're going to go here. I'm going to parallel park. In this country, instead of parallel parking, just go home. Go home. I parallel parked at correctly at my third attempt. Yeah, at my third attempt. Luckily, I'm sure they already know that this parallel parking is not easy. Luckily, you have 3 attempts to parallel park in the test. I'm sure they knew that. But then another thing that can make you automatically fail is if you cannot parallel park. 0/10, or if you don't merge into the highway or exit properly, automatic fail, right? So highway merger, parallel parking and stuff like that. And then we went to the highway. Me, I was even concerned about my speed. He was like, oh, your speed is okay, like your speed was good. And I'm like, oh wow, because I've really been concerned about the speed, like trying to maintain the exact amount, especially during the school zone. They'll be looking at your speedometer. So if the school zone is 30, I try to maintain between 25 and 28, max of 29, right? And I noticed he was staring at my speedometer when we went to school zone. I made sure I was on 28. Once in a while I go to like 24, 26, and he didn't say anything. So I think one of the things he just mentioned, oh, you should have checked more, you should scan around intersections and some other corrections he made. And of course the curb hitting, he didn't say anything about it, but it was obvious. And then I was also told to park uphill with a curb, which I did perfectly, and was like, madam, your parking is fine, let's go. And then we went, I can't remember if it was, that was when we now went to the highway and we exited and we moved like this, changing it. And then apart from my instructors, 2 instructors that I used, I also practiced with some of my friends. Like that was really amazing. Some of my friends and my family members, thank you to the people that allowed me practice with them. Like, thank you so much. Like, so in total, I was able to do about 17 hours of practice, out of which 12 of them were with my 2 instructors cumulatively. The remaining 5 were with my friends and family members that I was able to practice with. So after failing the first parallel park, it was time to parallel park the second time. I parallel parked quite alright, but it should have been better if I parked on the other side of the road. It remains small, make I park on the other side of the road. You know why? Because I was so far from the curb. I was so far. You know what we call pavement in Nigeria? That's what they call curb here. I was so far. Like, it was so obvious that was not going to work. And I was like, yo, let me try it again. And then he said, this is your last attempt. I said, hey, Jehovah. Because if you don't pass parallel parking, you have not passed the test, no matter what. Like, even if your instructor wants to be lenient, no matter what, you can't pass that test without passing parallel parking, right? So even if they want to be lenient with other funny things that you are doing, you have to pass parallel parking. You have to pass the highway merger. You have to yield to pedestrians. You cannot climb over a curb. Like, there are some things you can say, okay, she parallel parked, but maybe she didn't do this. We can still be lenient, right? And before that, I was anxious. So I even wanted to reschedule, but I prayed and for God's favor to have a good exam, and I'm glad that that's what I got, right? So I said, this is your last attempt. Luckily, the car was already bending like this because I was just coming out of that spot, because she was like, do you want to do it here or in front of another or with another car? I said here, because at least I already got used to the dimension. So the car was already like this, so it was just easier for me to just enter and just parallel park like that, because and I finally got it. And then I just heaved a sigh and I looked at him and he was like, well, not the best, but it's acceptable. I said, thank God though. Who is looking for the best before? Let it just be acceptable. Let me pass and get out of here. That was what I said in my mind. And he was like, let's go. I said, please, can I reverse? He said, well, you have no other choice. Because if you see the way I even did the parallel parking, very funny. I was so close to the car in front of me. When I'm doing with my instructor, it's kind of maybe easier because the instructor is directing me, and then I'm not so close to the car in front of me, and I can just drive out without reversing. But with the way I did this, so I had to reverse, because it was like you have no other choice. Like, you want to go and hit the car. So I reversed, went out, and then we moved. And finally, we got to the registry. He explained to me what I did well and made some corrections and stuff like that. It was like, oh, I'm sure your instructor must already have told you this and told you that. But yeah, you got this and you passed. And I'm like, yay, thank you. And yeah, that was it. I was really, really happy and really, really excited. So yeah, that's basically the end of my story time. This was probably so long. This is way longer than I wanted it to be or than I expected it to be. My pounded yam and egusi soup will soon be cold. That's if it's not already cold. I mean, need to go and microwave it. Thank you so much for watching this video. As you can see, we are now at the end of this video. Yeah, if you love this video, please do not forget to give this video a big thumbs up. Comment down below if you have done your driving test, how it went, if you're able to learn one or two things from my video, if you intend to come to Canada soon or Alberta soon. Just put everything in the comment section. Please share this video with your friends. It will be useful to all your friends that you have in Canada, the whole of Canada, and even Alberta. And share with your church members, your relatives, your colleagues, everyone. Do not forget to hit the red subscribe button and turn on the post notification bell beside it so that you can know when I post my next video. And I'll definitely see you in my very next video. Bye bye.